I'll soon convene a meeting between the heads of the security services and the leadership of the GJA to plan a program to orient our troops to recognize the media not as enemies but as partners in development.
So that's the president condemning the act, but 3 officers or officials of the Magdan Group were reportedly picked up by national security operatives following the demolition of a warehouse under construction at the Spinters Road in Accra. The partially built structure is said to be linked to prominent businessman Daniel Macaulay, popularly known as Magdan. So this is our correspondent, Duke Mensa Duncan, who was at the demolition site, and he filed this report.
ChannelOne news sources say the Chief Executive Officer of the Magdan Group, Kweku Amprofi, the Chief Operating Officer, Neil Macaulay, and the Director of Estates, Gerald Duku, were picked by national security operatives following the demolition of a warehouse under construction on the Spinters Road. The area has since been designated as a national security zone. Earlier in the day, a bystander giving an interview to a Joy News reporter was assaulted by armed military personnel. In a related development, journalist Carlos Caloni was reportedly arrested by national security officials and was later released. Government, in a press statement, condemned the attempted arrest of the Joy News reporter and the reported assault on the eyewitness, describing the actions as utterly unacceptable. The operatives following the demolition of a warehouse under construction on the Spinters Road. The area, the operatives following the demolition.
All right, so that was Jude Mensa Duncan. Meanwhile, the Ghana Journalists Association has issued a strong ultimatum to the Ghana Police Service to take swift action against officers who assault journalists or face a nationwide media blackout on police-related activities. The association is demanding immediate investigations and sanctions against officers involved in recent attacks on journalists, warning that the continued abuse undermines press freedom and threatens Ghana's democratic accountability. Christopher Kevin Asima has more.
The GJA warning follows violent incident against journalists, the latest involving a GH1 TV reporter attacked during the Ablekmanov parliamentary rerun on July 17. Enjoy News' Carlos Caloni, his cameraman, and an eyewitness who were reportedly assaulted by armed soldiers during a demolition exercise at Spintex on July 30. Addressing a press conference on Wednesday, July 31, GJA President Albert Kwabena Jumfor condemned the attacks as deeply troubling.
If the Ghana Police Service fails to act decisively within the next 7 days, as already stated, the GJA, in consultation with key stakeholders, will announce a nationwide media blackout of all police activities. We will instruct our members to withhold coverage of police events, refuse participation in police press briefings, and suspend all forms of editorial engagement involving the police.
Mr. Jumfor also issued a direct warning to the Chief of Army Staff, demanding swift and transparent actions against the soldiers involved in the Spintex assault.
Again, the military should understand that failure on their part to expose and sanction the said perpetrators of this crime will also have damning consequences, and we will embarrass them.
All right, so that was the Journalists Association's president, Jumfor, addressing the press earlier in the week, saying that the Journalists Association, or there'll be a media blackout on all police activities if in 7 days we do not hear something positive in respect of the recent happenings, with a particular focus on the Spinters Road demolition attack that the military officers meted out to the Joy News reporter. Now, all these may have implications for press freedom. It may have implications for Ghana's democratic standing as a beacon of democracy in Africa, etc. We'll look at how those things affect the rating and how people view the country in terms of press freedom on the show. To help us do the discussion this morning will be Richard Ahiagba, Director of Communications of the MPP, Nick Papo Samoado, member of the NDC legal team. We will briefly speak to Albert Jumfo, who is president of the Ghana Journalists Association. Dr. John Osai Kwapon is a senior research fellow at the CDD. Justice Abdullah is a private legal practitioner. And of course, Professor Kwesi Enin, a security consultant or analyst, who also join us, same as Franklin Kujo, president of Omania Africa. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the program. Let me start off with you, Dr. Osai Kwapon. You are a democracy person. I mean, you are a researcher and a political scientist and all of that. Good morning and welcome to the program once again.
Good morning to you. Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure having you every time.
As well.
The attack we saw this week, very unfortunate, and we cannot say that it's an isolated incident because we've seen a few happen in recent times. As somebody who works on democracy and somebody who researches around democracy, what does this mean to you, the attack we've seen this week and recent ones we have seen as well on journalists?
Yeah, thank you very much. It is very worrying, especially because in this most recent attack in the video that we saw, that it was not as though the journalist was not supposed to be there or the journalist was engaged in some kind of an illegal activity. The media plays a very critical role in our democratic space. We need the media to report the news, to shine light on state actions, to call into question even state actions that may be inappropriate, to demand answers from officials as to why certain things are being done or not being done. So if you start engaging in these kinds of sort of repulsive behaviors against the media, then it can provide or result in a chilling effect, because in as much as media persons would want to report the news and cover events as they unfold, at the same time, when it comes at the cost of personal risk of an assault or some bodily harm to you, then it gets to a point where you are forced to make that unhealthy trade-off between doing my work as a media person and playing that critical role in our democratic space, or thinking primarily about my safety. And you can't fault a media person for choosing safety over even the obligations of their, or the importance of their work. And if that happens, and every person in the media space starts withdrawing, then you can imagine what that can do in terms of official behavior. Nobody's watching, nobody's covering, and therefore you can see how, for example, it can result in even a lot of other kinds of behavior on the part of public officials. So that for me is quite worrying. And if you look at some of these good governance indices, like the Press Freedom Index, for example, one of the criteria that they use in determining the extent of press freedom in a given country is the abuses that, the safety aspect of the work of journalists. So they tally abuses, they look at various incidents of media abuses, and that goes into the ultimate calculation of a country's score on the Press Freedom Index. I know that sometimes when these things happen, you get descriptions like there was an isolated incident, or a reporter was attacked. But what we have to guard against is not letting these things become normalized. Because again, the repercussions for the ability of the media to do the important work that they have to do would not augur well for our democracy.
Very well. What do you make of the response? We saw quite some swift response from the Office of the President. The President himself condemned it, and he suggested a few things to do to help make the relationship between the media and the security or the military for this purpose more cordial. What do you make of that response? Swift,
I think it was very important. Yeah, I believe it was very important for the president to quickly condemn those actions because when these things happen, ultimately, it also becomes a reflection of the government in place. The buck stops with the president. And so, even if it is a police officer or a military person who misconducted themselves in that situation, ultimately, when the public begins to reflect on what is going on, part of it would fall on, the presidency in terms of, the kind of environment that is being created intentionally or unintentionally. And so for me, it was very important for the president to come out to quickly say, look, we condemn this. This is not the way to behave. And then to say, I'm going to convene, a meeting with all these key, stakeholders for us to dialogue and find a way of, making sure that these things don't happen. I think it was also very important that the Ghana Armed Forces, I think, released a statement and said that they were going to conduct immediate investigation into the case. Ultimately, though, I think what people also want to say is that the persons identified in the video who engaged in this misconduct need to be punished to serve as a deterrent to others, but more importantly, to also assure citizens and the media that this is not conduct that officialdom would condone, that you can feel safe to do your work or even to provide an eyewitness account of something that you're observing. So the dialogue is important. The immediate response from the presidency is important. But I strongly believe that ultimately holding those persons accountable with punishment would also go a long way to serve as a deterrent to others who may want to do same, but also assure Ghanaians that this is not the governance environment that media persons, other activists, or ordinary citizens are going to be living in.
Very well. Ni Bakpo Samuado, member of the NDC legal team, joins us in the studio. Ni, you're welcome to the program. The incident of the week where the journalist was assaulted wasn't the first time we've seen a journalist assaulted. Of course, this was not by a political actor, but this was by security officials. Given that you are in government and all of these, how does this how do you see this in respect of deepening our democratic credentials? Many have said that this is a big law. Military persons attacking a journalist and even a bystander for granting an interview over something which is newsworthy is a new law. The president has condemned it. What generally are your views around it?
But my very good friend, good morning to your wonderful viewers. Do you still have listeners on City?
Yes.
Or radio?
Yeah,
okay,
radio,
so good morning to wonderful listeners on radio. It's always good to be back home to the studios. And if my Oga himself has apologized and has stated that as a card-bearing member of the GGA, he will not allow, under his regime, the assault of journalists. What better protection do journalists want other than this? That the president of the land, commander-in-chief of the armed forces, indicates openly that not only does he condemn what has gone on, but has called for punitive measures. And the armed forces have released a statement stating that the matter is being investigated. Clearly, this is appalling. And once my Oga says that this is appalling, I think there's nothing more to add. That the president of the country has stated openly, is not covering up, you not be met with silence, but you've been met with open condemnation and calls for investigation and punitive actions being taken, including reforming the relationship. Because you see, if you look at the some of these things, it clearly goes with orientation that there's still not, and I think everybody can help. GJ and the armed forces need to build the relationship, you understand? To the point where the military recognizes the journalist as a partner in development. So that when you see a journalist standing doing his work, if you look in the video, one of the policemen said, "Continue doing your work." I don't know if you heard the one. What I think when this one rolls, you hear the one who. There's another gentleman. Yes, this one. There was one. Oh, it's gone. There was another person who told him to carry on with.
But how does he carry on with his work when he's being beaten?
No, he was not. At that time, he had not been assaulted. This one, the gentleman, the one on the left side who was moving away, was the one being assaulted. But clearly, for me, we should get to the point where journalists, once identified as journalists, carrying on with their work, should not be the subject of assault. It's as simple as that. Journalists should be able to do their work with utmost protection from either the police or the military, because you are the voice of the voiceless. You are the reason why when you are a party in opposition, we attend to programs like this, because we have our voice heard. When we are in power, you want to explain your policies to the people. If the media shuts you out, then we begin to complain that, hey, when we are in opposition, you don't give us the forum, you are only propagating the government's message. And when we are in government, we say, well, you are not giving us the opportunity to, you are being overly critical of government. So the media is a very important partner. That is why whether you are in opposition or you are in government, we deem it necessary to attend to your programs, to explain government policy, among others. So for me, what was important, first and foremost, was that on record, the president, the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, clearly condemned what went on and did not make any excuses whatsoever, and also called for reform and for punitive action. So for me, that underlines it, that there's a zero tolerance by the government of such actions. And once the persons are fished out, they should be dealt with. And then beyond that, the Ghana Journalists Association and the media fraternity should try and build the bridges. So, see, sometimes when people don't understand the work of the journalists, then there's this,
No, are you suggesting that the military officers did not understand why the journalist was there?
Sometimes you might be surprised that people are ignorant of the work of a journalist.
No, but what was the guy doing? The journalist was just, he was just talking to somebody.
There are different kinds of journalism now. You are better in position. You have bloggers, you have, so even now we have citizen journalists. You go to any program, you see a lot of people with
but no matter the category they fall into.
Correct.
I mean, it's not a crime.
There should, exactly. So that's where we need to get the education going. You understand? For me, that is important. That beyond the condemnation.
No, assuming he wasn't even a journalist. An ordinary person filming.
Correct.
He had no right, or the military guys had no right to be.
So you see, that's the thing. First, let's start from the journalist, because it is first when you see that journalists are doing their work, you should have no business interfering with their work. And if you have security concerns, there must be a way to coordinate that relationship. So that's why I'm calling for first a partnership between the journalists and the military and the police and the security services, all security services. So that, for example, if you visited Isawam and there's a security zone, for example, if you're not supposed to film at a certain point, or you're not supposed to do certain things, the security official should be able to tell you why we don't allow certain things in certain areas. Then as a journalist, you also tell them why in doing your work, you need to do it this way or that. There must be collaboration.
Yes, I get that.
So that for me is important, because it deepens the understanding of the work from both sides. Because sometimes the misunderstanding of the mandate, you have the constitutional mandate to do your work. The journalists, so that's one of the things that a lot of people sometimes don't even realize, that media is actually enshrined, the freedom in the Constitution. The media are supposed to hold government accountable, and the freedom to do what the journalists do is guaranteed because of our history. You understand? So that must be explained. People, maybe the National Media Commission, you understand, and the NCC, all must take the lead in letting our authorities, especially the military and security services, know the role that media is supposed to play. That it is a constitutional mandate. It is not simply because people like establishing radio stations or TV stations and carrying cameras. It is actually a constitutional duty you are carrying out. So the same way the armed forces are set up the various security agencies are set up to carry out constitutional duties like the police, prisons, and all that. The journalists all have a constitutional basis to exist. Once we all understand that we have a constitutional existence, we all form out of the constitution, then we must learn to coexist. It's the coexistence that is sometimes a bit patchy, because you see, one party has the monopoly on the use of force, and if you don't orient that person, that look, in the exercise of your use of force, you need to take into account the rights of the other constitutionally established bodies, so that as you are perhaps creating a security cordon, if you are covering a demonstration, if you are covering elections, if you are covering a press conference, if you are covering a security zone, these are the do's and don'ts. Once you have those, which could evolve into a handbook for journalists and for citizen journalists and for all categories of journalists. That, for example, when you get into the BNI facility area, these are the things you are supposed to do. These are the things you are not supposed to do. When you get towards the Flagstaff House, these are the things you are allowed to do. These are the things you are not allowed to do. It will help to build the relationship, because you need each other. You understand? The military police need the journalists when you want to carry out your message. Maybe you are doing a special exercise in, let's say there's an AU conference, and you need to cordon off a certain area. What do? They issue a statement and put it out in the media. And it's the media's responsibility to carry it out. If you don't partner and there's always hostility in the relationship, it doesn't help. But where there are excesses which amount to criminality, like what we saw, we can't condone such behavior. Clearly, it must be condemned. The people who were involved fished out and punished. But beyond the punishment, there must be a call for a deepening of the relationship. You can't have a situation where it's always confrontational. It doesn't help anybody's work.
You made mention of the fact that if the place is a security zone, you need to know, etc. But the issue about the place being a security zone prior to the demolition, I'm not sure was known.
Oh, no. I'm not saying that.
In this specific sense.
No,
because the military came out, or the security guys came out after that to say the place was a security zone.
The point is simple. Once the president has condemned this behavior and said that it's unacceptable, it's unacceptable. There's no excuse about it. What we just need to do is to be able to understand that moving on, there must be an effort on both sides to try and meet at a certain point and try and understand each other's mandate when it comes to their work, so that we avoid these clashes.
I see. Let me speak to Richard. Hello, Richard. Welcome to the program. I guess you are well. Been a while. The media has been on the receiving end from powerful institutions, including political party activists. In this case, it's not political party activists that have been involved in this. This is a security. We saw this earlier in the month, and you've seen this again. What's your general view on the assault, the response many have described as swift from the seat of government, and the matters arising?
Hello, good morning. Good morning to my co-panelists. Salam is troubling. And I think I want to make the point that it shouldn't matter if it's a journalist or a citizen. And it shouldn't also matter if it is a police, military officer, or a political actor who assaults a journalist or a citizen. It should not be accepted. We should condemn it in no uncertain term. And so what my brother Lee Papo is trying to do to kind of provide cover and create the impression that somehow we should be teaching common sense now to police, to soldiers, is nauseating. How are you trying to tell me that if a police officer or military person sees a citizen doing something, even filming in a security zone, is the reaction to beat the person? Is that society we are? That when you see somebody committing a wrong and you are a state official, you are a security officer, is that a training they give them that when you see somebody beats them? Is that what they tell the police? So what is Nick Bako trying to tell us? That the police don't have common sense, they've not been trained. The military doesn't have common sense, they haven't been trained. So when they see somebody doing something which perhaps goes against the law, which in this case there's none, then they should beat them. Their instinct is to beat the person. And so in order to discourage them from beating people, we should train them on common sense. They should stop insulting.
Yeah,
That's just don't rationalize this.
No, I'm not rationalizing. I'm not rationalizing. I'm just moving the point. Yeah, I'm just. No, that's your summary or interpretation of what he has said.
I said. And I think that is very
and I think
offensive.
he premised it on
Very,
the
very
fact
offensive.
that once it's been condemned by the highest office of the land, I mean, who is he to rationalize or to justify?
I'll get to that one.
No, but in all fairness, what he's saying, I said, is completely
No, but
wrong.
of course.
I never said that the police have to be taught common sense.
No, that's his
he's summarizing me.
that's-
Summarize me fairly. You
That's
don't
what
say
you were
that
saying
I'm
in
saying that
essence.
the people should be taught common sense. That's very unfair.
Just let me
That's very, very unfair. And I can summarize what he's saying and give it and give him the same measure of what he's saying.
I get that. So
He's
Richard,
a very
of course,
good friend of mine. Let's not go there.
he didn't say, or he didn't imply
Exactly.
that
So why would he
common
summarize
sense should
it?
be
Exactly.
taught. You know, he
Sell.
yes. So you just go ahead and make your point.
Sell.
Yeah, go ahead and make your point.
without being personal.
Nikpapo is a senior brother. I like him.
Exactly. He's that I also like. So I don't know why he wants to personalize it.
No. Just make your
You are
point.
communicating.
Yes.
But you don't teach me. You don't say things I haven't said.
Just stop. Hold it.
No.
Richard, make your point. Yes. So just make your point or make your view known.
Yeah, you should make
I'm
his
coming.
view.
Allow
Don't
me
say what I
to.
haven't summarized.
No problem. So, Salom,
Yes.
please tell Nikpapo to be quiet. Tell him to be quiet. We
All
are
right, so-
communicating. He's there for his party. I'm here for my party. We are speaking to fix problems in our country. He should be quiet.
But you don't say something
Respect.
I haven't said.
No,
Richard, just go ahead and make your point. Else
you do
we
that.
can go
So-
back and
so-
forth on this.
Summarize what he has said
So-
in
Yes.
a manner that he will also not like.
Yes. Richard, go ahead and make your point.
So, Salom, can we have some order?
Yes,
Such
exactly what I'm doing. So I mean,
Okay.
but
No.
Richard,
I
if
just
you
want
raise,
to establish that.
yeah, if you raise issues that are not, or for example, if you misquote him,
Exactly.
he has a right to.
I haven't quoted
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I've not said so. I'm just saying.
Let him continue.
Yeah.
When you finish, I'll
So
respond.
let's be mindful
Yeah.
of that in maintaining the order.
Hello.
Yes.
No problem. So if you had listened to me, I had not quoted Nikpapo. His communication is put out, is what I am saying. The implication of what he's saying. Suggesting that the soldier who beats the young man, and in fact a citizen as well, didn't know what he was doing. It's insulting to say that. We didn't train our military to just be beating people.
Richard, he actually did not say that. So I don't want to interject. I don't want to interject you, but he actually didn't say that. All right. So you go ahead and make your point, Richard.
Salom,
Yes, Richard, just go
you are
ahead and make your
asking
point.
us to discuss. So, wait, Salom. You are asking us to discuss.
Wait,
Is that not the case? So if we are discussing and we are talking about implications of people's action, mind you, Nikpapo and his party and are the government of the day. So their actions and inactions, we have to dissect them. So if it comes to national television and is telling us that somehow the military officer need to be coached on how to react to situations like that, it's insulting us that he doesn't know.
Well,
Article 21 of our Constitution is clear. Okay?
Which
And
he
there's freedom,
referenced.
fundamental freedom,
Which he referenced.
okay, for people to engage. So what is he talking about? That one, for me, I find it insulting. Number two, on the president. You see, President Mahama speaks well. He says he's a card-bearing member of the Journalists Association of Ghana. That's okay. But just talk won't cut it. So, on average, now, from January 7th till date, some 1.7 journalists are attacked every month. So about 2 journalists are attacked in a month. 2 journalists are attacked in a month. Thus far, 12 journalists have been attacked in 7 months. Okay? Now, if you work the math, by the time 48 months comes for the NDC to exit power, there's some 96 journalists would have been attacked. Now, 12 have been attacked in what can be said to be the president's honeymoon. 12 in a supposed honeymoon. So imagine where the media decides not to treat the government or the administration with kid gloves anymore. and they decide to do their work the way they're supposed to do it, to hold him accountable. Okay, these numbers can be increased quickly, exponentially. It's a threat that we must deal with. So the president speaking is instantly responding through his minister for communication, and he himself taking the opportunity to condemn it, will not cut it. It's been how many weeks now in Ablekmanov? Kobna Banahini was attacked, was slapped by a police officer. A young lady, Vida Wiafi, was assaulted. What's called Sally Mate also was assaulted. It's been weeks. What's happened to those people who assaulted them? What's happened to them? So talking about it is not a solution. What we are looking for is to stop that environment, to give full effect to Article 21, that citizens' freedom of speech, including the media, is guaranteed. We are just asking for what the Constitution has provided. Salom, you made a point earlier that, oh, this is not a state actor. That's true. But shouldn't matter. That is a state actor. That is a security person. The idea is that that conduct is unacceptable. What is consequential? Whether it is a police officer, is a military or fire service or whoever, or is a political actor, so is the environment that is being created. The environment, you know, the NDC has history with the media, very bad history with the media. Targeted the media, silenced the media. The objective is to instill fear and silence. That's the objective. I am not saying that under other regime this does not happen, these things never happens. But the point is that there is a particular history with the NDC when it comes to the media. The very dark days in the PNDC era. Very dark days when the P was stripped off and it became NDC. To date. So somehow there is this excitement or recklessness, I should say, and impunity when the NDC is in government. That people think that they can manhandle people anyhow and get away with it. And that is consistent with the NDC's own claiming for themselves that they are born of a revolutionary traits. That revolutionary traits they claim actually comes to bear when they are in power. So for me, I am concerned. President Mahama's take on the matter is not conclusive. What will be conclusive is that the individuals who have done this, who have abused citizens whose rights are guaranteed, whether they are journalists or the eyewitness who was just saying what he has seen on live television, who was assaulted and abused, has rights in Article 21 of our Constitution.
Very well. Richard, but what you say...
President Mahama has sworn an oath to uphold the Constitution. So now is the time that a citizen's rights has been abused under this Constitution. What is the consequence? It is not words, it is action. It is not words, it's action. So, you know, I am concerned about the Ghana Journalists Association's position on the matter. Their position is that they would undertake a media blackout of the security services, maybe police. I didn't hear them say the military, but all the security services or any group of people who abuse. That's dangerous. Even though well-intended, okay, the intention of that strategy is good, it's not bad, at least under the circumstances of what they can do. I'd say that they should do more. They should take those individuals to court. The journalists should be supported to take these individuals to court. Because why? If you just resort to media blackout, what you then create is that you enable them to do the worse. Because now you are not going to cover their activities. So if they are beating not all journalists, but citizens, we will not know. Because the work of the media is critical. So you cannot afford to have a media sanction a blackout on anybody, whether the person is terrible or has done anything wrong. You need to shine the media light on every sport in our country.
Very
now,
well.
When they have done
no,
something,
Richard, just hang in there. Yeah, Richard, just hang in there. I'll come back to you. But of course, Justice Abdullahi is online. But we've been joined also by Professor Kwesi, who is a security analyst, security consultant, an academic, done quite a lot of things in the arena of security. Let's take his perspective on this matter. Hello, Prof. Good morning. Welcome to the program. What is your general impression about the incident we witnessed in the week, coupled with other ones we have seen, and recently what happened in Ablekuma North? What is the problem? What is the problem we are dealing with when it comes to the mindset of security people vis-a-vis journalists at work?
Well, I think over the past couple of years, we are seeing a certain direction in civil military. Ashaman, Ablekuma, then now he comes along. I want to make a that the Ghana Armed Forces and other statutory condone the use of violence, as an institutional, tactic. But be that in huge institutions, you will always find individuals or groups who seek to take the law into their own hands under technical pressure, and particularly when it comes under the amorphous national security. So the institutions themselves are very clear as to where it is. It is the ongoing investigation to ascertain the circumstances around what led to the incident that we have. But time is of the essence, because it is most important for the Ghana journalists to be able to assure us that they are safe, that can work out their work. But also for the Ghana Armed Forces, the Ghana Police Service, because these are issues of reputation, right? And of the nature of the relationship with the civil. Time is on the essence again, because we know what is happening in Boko and elsewhere. Where I think yesterday or 2 days ago, the National Security Coordinator has actually stated that almost about 100 conflicts, defensive land issues are posing an existential threat to the nation. So the statement by the Ghana journalist of a total blackout, and I understand where they are coming from, but I also don't think that will let resolve the structural issues around this. I think we need careful dialogues, training, and a series of engagement that builds trust. Because we need the DJ to help us to get to know what is happening in the country, but also sometimes actually to give a voice to the statutory institutions themselves, about what they are doing that is right, some of the challenges that they are facing. So we have a lot of work to do as a nation to improve this important relationship that we need by all means to try to get right for national development.
I see. The president condemned it, and he has proposed some pathway to improving the partnership and maybe resolving, I don't know if it's mistrust or misunderstanding of the role of the media. Is that the best approach to resolving this and ensuring that this doesn't happen again in the future?
Well, it's one of possible paths, but there's a need for constant engagement. Now, the tense relationship is about misunderstanding, misrepresentation, and then historical suspicions that breeds misunderstanding that occasionally spills out into all kinds of misbehavior that we have seen. But another issue that I think we need to talk about, we are talking about GJA, uniform security services. But if we take or we consider a couple of cases that have come into the public, when do statutory security get access to critical information upon which they act? And how should those operations be undertaken? And I want to cite one example is the demolition of this particular structure. When did it become known that that structure ought to be demolished? Have the facts just come out, or the facts were always there, but it was politically expedient? The second is the invitation by Chairman Moon. When did it become clear that some of his activities by the company have flouted national rule? I'm raising these two examples to broaden up about timing, performance, and political context. You see, because if statutory institutions only in inverted commas suddenly discovered that people have flouted the rule in the performance of their company's duty or in how they apply profit, then it creates a problem about the independence of those institutions and their capacity or willingness to protect all of us. You see, so this is about excesses relating to journalists that I know, certainly for the Ghana Armed Forces, that after the investigation, the individuals should definitely be dealt with. And I think it's important for their reputation that they do so. But when the national security or the council decide that there was a need for a national Security Council approved operation to demolish the structure, have the facts always been known to other statutory institutions that ought to have given a permit or ought not to have given a permit for that structure to be erected? You know, so once we talk about the excess, we also need to broaden the conversation, because this is about institutional capacity, institutional education, and more importantly, the trust that citizens we have in the statutory institutions that should be protected.
I see. We want to thank you so much for your thoughts on this.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks so much. Prof, I'll come to Ni, who has a number of reactions to make to a lot of the things said so far. Justice, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Yes, been a while. But
Indeed.
I'm sure you've obviously watched the videos and listened to the commentary and the responses or reactions that have come through. Journalists in line of duty, military people also doing what they are doing. But the concern many have asked is, since when did military people become persons who go to demolition sites? Can you unpack it for us, whether it is the appropriate use of the military to be at places like that, let alone, assault people?
Indeed, thank you, Salam. I think we need to appreciate that the various security agencies have their individual roles to play in the advancements of our democracy and indeed in the protection of the people of Ghana and the territories of Ghana. Each security institution has specific role under the Constitution and indeed also advanced in the various statutes that expand on their roles and their functions within the Republic. And so you'd have the police naturally being in charge of internal security. We have the prison service being in charge of keeping people in detention and reformation activities. And automatically the military being in charge of external territorial protection. And so it stands to reason that the police, in fact the military in particular, do not have any role to play within the internal running of the country. And few exceptions that they are called upon to do. And those exceptions clearly do not involve either what we sometimes, lately we've seen them being used for private protection of VIPs or VVIPs. Those are not part of the activity, roles of the military. Activities involving protection of lands. You've seen the police now lately being used as land guards, if you like. People with appropriate resources, get them onto their lands, and appropriate resources and need connection, get them to protect their lands and do all manner of things that the military is not designed for, such that they interface directly with civilians. And that has never been the role of the military. The moment that interference, the interface between the military and the civilians occasion, it brings all kinds of unattended consequences that are not within the law. Unfortunately, we have been witnessing these over the years, if you like, the past 10 years or thereabout. And we just look on without complaining or addressing these issues. So we saw them, for instance, going to Ashaiman, attacking everybody there because ostensibly a military officer had been murdered. And rather than allowing the police to do their appropriate investigations, we unleashed the military onto civilians and within the civilian population, where a lot of human rights abuses were recorded, and that issue has still not been addressed appropriately. We've seen the same thing happen with somewhere in the north, where the military went on rampage, attacking and beating every single person to pulp for reasons that are yet to be appropriately explained, and nothing has been done to address these issues either. We've seen a lot of confrontations between the police and the military themselves, attacking each other, and most of the times overpowering the police, and sometimes few instances because the police have effected an arrest of a military officer, or they have stopped them midway in their journeys and all of that. Now, I think these matters, having been left unattended to, is gradually creeping into our everyday life, such that we find it very convenient allowing the military to attack and do as they please. I have watched consistently the videos involving the warehouse demolition and how an individual who had granted an interview to a journalist was attacked simply on the basis of saying things that I'm sure was not pleasing to the military officers who were there. The man attempted to run. They chased after him, pulled him down, made him kneel down. You could see one ostensibly attempted to pull out his gun for reasons that you can never explain. You are attacking an individual who is running away. And the easiest option that came in mind was to attempt to pull his gun, either to scare this guy into submission, or possibly to fire a warning shot, or to do the worst that we could possibly not think of. Now, we cannot simply sit back and watch these things unfold. The moment we keep doing that and pretending and behaving like ostriches, tomorrow we wake up to a scene that we can never describe, and we may probably not have the opportunity and the appropriate tools to quell it. So it is important for us to start addressing these matters right from the onset. And the lip service cannot, under any circumstances, deal with these matters if you do not take active steps to address them. We need to make each of the security officers know their place within our democratic dispensation. They need to be in line, play the roles that they've been assigned constitutionally and legally to play. With failing to do this would one day occasion all of us into the sort of chaos that we cannot contain. And I consistently implore all of us, and indeed the powers that be, to take these matters very seriously. I remember calling on the government at the time to line up all the military officers who went on to the north attacking civilians and those who went to Ashaman, to have them prosecuted. Because in my view, the idea of writing on a sheet of paper and releasing it to the media to say a number of sweet things is not the way to deal with these matters. Public condemnation is good, but it has its own limits. We need to move on from always telling the people that we condemn these matters and that we are investigating them, to the days where we do active prosecution and stop with internal mechanisms of dealing with these matters. Active prosecution, put it in the media's domain that indeed these persons who orchestrated this conduct and those officers who might have given them that leeway or commanded them to undertake those activities, all of them are actors within the space who must all be prosecuted as any other civilian, as any other individual. Without doing these things, we will stand the risk of the position that we may not be able to sustain one day. Now, having said this, let's put matters into to perspective when it comes to the media attacks and all of that. My brother Richard admitted that indeed media attacks did not start today. Media attacks have been things with us over the period. And consistently, we attempt to address it by playing the ostrich and always releasing press releases and press conferences, which do not solve the problem. They do not in any way solve the problem. So, in view of that, I was expecting, with all the things Richard said, I was expecting that he would tell us what the MPP government, for instance, did when Gabi Asare-Chedakun and co were beaten to pulp during a demonstration. I remember at the time, I think this was in 2015 or thereabout, that at the time, President Mahama was in office. Nothing serious was done about this. And a lot of media men also suffered. I remember this was a time that someone had his eyes popped up.
I think it was at a similar demonstration.
The same demonstration. That's what I'm saying. It was the same demonstration. Nothing was done during that period. And a few months later, the MPP came into office and absolutely nothing was done till date. Now, so if Richard believes that doing so much more will be the thing to cure this mischief. I expect that he tells us the steps that were taken to cure this at the time that he was in government. Now, mind you, and this is without playing any political card, the rankings from 2012 to 2022 at the world stage, President Mahama scored the highest for Ghana. The highest score we had was in 2015, when Ghana placed 22nd on the rankings in the world. And within the same period, President Mahama from 2013 all the way to 2016 scored in Africa the second and the third highest in Africa. And this needs to be put on record that bad as our situations may be, we have consistently been doing so well, at least within the era of President Mahama. Of course, within the African stage, President Akufo-Addo scored the highest in 2018, when Ghana became the first in media rankings. But conversely, and weirdly, the same President Akufo-Addo scored the worst, both in Africa and in the world, in 2022. And so we should remember that if we are putting the MPP and NDC on the same scale, I think at least within this the areas of President Mahama and President Akufo-Addo, President Mahama will arguably be the best in terms of world rankings and African rankings, because consistently he scored the highest. And so I do not think that, based on these rankings from 2012 to 2022 world records and then in the African records, I do not think that Richard would have any better say in condemning the activities of President Mahama, because his own president at the time scored the worst, both in terms of the world rankings and in African rankings, even though within 4 years earlier he had scored the best in terms of the two rankings. And so now,
but Justice, we want to be we want to progress. I mean, we want to be progressive.
Yes. Progress,
we want to do better. Yes.
In progress, this is what I say, that we should move on from first making comparisons, second releasing press statements, and get to that stage where we do active prosecution of people who are found to be abusing the rights of the media. That is the best solution, because that's where we are supposed to be at this point. We should not be treating these matters by releasing sweet statements and flowery languages within the space of the media, making it look like we are doing something when we are in fact not doing anything. Because if you check within the same 10 years, we have never seen any active prosecution of any person, whether within the police service or the military or any other security agencies, who has been prosecuted for flouting these rights. And let's remember, these are all criminal conduct. They are not necessarily civil issues that we can simply let go and resolve behind the scenes. These are criminal conduct, and criminal conduct must be treated with the criminal procedures and the level of criminality that it deserves. We can't just overlook it.
Very well.
This is my position.
Great.
The internal mechanisms in dealing with these matters have never helped. Besides, we have never even known the outcomes of these internal mechanisms of dealing with the matters.
Very well.
And they don't help in any way. So let's move on. Let's prosecute.
Good. Thanks, Justice. I'll come back to you. Now, let's quickly speak to Albert Jumfor, who is president of the Ghana Journalists Association. He has been a very active president of the GJA, protecting journalists and standing up for journalists, which is very commendable. Albert Jumfor, good morning. Welcome to the program. And let's commend you for the hard work you are doing for us, acting really as our president. And we are grateful to you for that, and we hope that it continues. Yes, you've given an ultimatum to the police and related agencies to do better. You're giving them a 7-day ultimatum. Why are you giving them a 7-day ultimatum?
Okay, thank you so much, Salom, and good morning to your service viewers and listeners, and good morning to the panel. Salom, I don't know if you will permit me to clarify one or two things. I was listening to the conversation which the all right? Am I getting right?
Yes, that's if you are referring to Ni Papo Samoado. Just go ahead.
Yes,
Let's see the point and we'll know who made it.
Okay, because no, the one you just interviewed, the last one he spoke to.
No, he's a private legal practitioner, Justice Abdullah. He's calling for prosecution of the perpetrators. Yes.
Okay, but let me first of all, say that when it comes to the prosecution, which Justice mentioned, we agree to that, and we are fully in full support. But one clarification is that yes, he was doing some comparison in terms of the WordPress Freedom Index, our ranking on the WordPress Freedom Index. Yes, I'm quick to say that Solomon, in as much as we agree that the previous administration recorded the worst WordPress Freedom Index, the worst ranking ever. Under the same previous administration, Ghana recorded the best. So I want to clear that.
Yeah, I think he said that as well. Yeah.
Okay, yes. In 2019, Ghana came first. You understand? Under the previous administration, but same administration recorded the work. Now, coming to what is happening and what journalists are being faced with in terms of impunity and attack on our members and all that. Yes, the 7 days. Why the 7 days, as you asked? So we have been having this issue recurring every time, here and there. In fact, if you remember, last year, we took some drastic measures or decisions in order to curb or to end such impunity. And I can tell you, and I remember one time you were there. You were there when one of your own was attacked in Yendi, and together with you, we took some decisions which yielded, because it was very biting in terms of the blacklisting of some senior officials of government and the consequences thereafter. It was really biting. We had these persons coming over or coming back to us to beg and to call for a truce and all that. That should tell you how this measure really worked or prepared for us. Now, in terms of prosecution, like Abdullah said, yes, there has been some prosecution even under the previous administration. But what we have realized is that the court or the judicial service, yes, are not doing us so much good in terms of the punishment method as to some of these people. Now, let me give you a case, for instance. There was an invasion by some NPP tax at UTV who had gone there to attack panelists on UTV entertainment showbiz, if you remember.
Yes.
The panelists and then the host. Now, some of them were even with arms and all that. What did we see? The police ended up preferring weak charges on these people, and then they processed them before court. The court, based on what we know under the misdemeanor, under the criminal case, gave the minimum and even below the minimum penalty unit as punishment. The 52,000 penalty unit. The court ended up giving 200 penalty units, making them pay about almost 2,000 something just to go for free. Is this deterrent enough? So what we have said is that usually cases of attack, assaults, and all that are premeditated. These are not issues that we should take for granted, because before anybody would plan to attack a journalist or anybody attacks a journalist in the line of duty, it's either it has been planned already. It has been determined that, like, if they've actually planned that, look, today we are going to do ABCD. And premeditated cases must be seen as a very serious offense, not a misdemeanor case. And so if we take this as ordinary, maybe assault, so these are journalists who are discharging their constitutional mandate. These are journalists who are serving the good people of this country and playing their role as the watchdogs of the people's right. And so if you attack a journalist, you slap them, you go after them, trying to break the bridge or the link between which serves as the link or bridge between the government and the government. So we are trying to break it. I think we should see such offences as serious offences and not just mere misdemeanor.
Very
So
well.
that one, with the prosecution, agree. So what we have said is that we, after taking those drastic measures last year, we recorded, in fact, the first time in the history of Ghana from 1992 to 2024. Last year was the only election year that we recorded minimum attacks on journalists. So let me give you a statistic. Averagely, every year in the past 20 years, the data available to us indicates that every year the media, we record about 12 attacks on journalists. That is average. In election years, where there are no attacks at all, we record about 24 from 1992 now, 24. After coming out to blacklist people and taking such positions, posture and all that, we realized that the journalists went to polls, contributed our quota to the peaceful election, peaceful outcome of election 2024. Before, during, and after the election, I can say here without any fear that we did not record a single attack on journalists. No journalist was attacked before, during, and after the 2024 election. This was due to the process and the measures we put in place and the posture we took against such perpetrators of this evil act.
Very well.
So,
Great.
we are saying that this time around, we are going a step further. We are going to be even more vociferous. We are going to be more radical because we have realized that the evil ones have not gone to bed yet. They are still at work. They have intended to even attack. Let me tell you something. Let me give you something. With information available to us, this should intelligence we are picked, that some politicians and activists are planning to attack some journalists who have been critical of the system. We have names. We have names of journalists they are planning to attack and silence. It's either they want to bring back what we call the culture of silence. But we are saying that this issue just came to us even after our presser on Thursday.
But have you alerted those journalists who you say you have information?
In fact, some of them even reached out to me. Some of them themselves, the threat they've received.
But have you advised them to report the threats to the appropriate security agencies or the police?
Yes, okay. We have done that. And is the more reason I have a conversation with the president, and is the reason why the president, in his statement, in his reaction to the attack, said that he's going to convey a meeting between the leadership of the GGA and that of the security chiefs. If you remember, these issues have come and have hinted in that this is what we are taking, the intelligence we are taking. So this is the step we are also going to take.
Speaking about the president, you are president too, so you are two presidents. Speaking about the national president, I mean, the Republic of Ghana president, I mean, he's condemned the incident and went ahead to say that he was seeking to create a platform for the military officers or leaders and our side, to represented by you and co, I guess, to have some dialogue so both sides understand what they have to do and what they do not have to do to improve the partnership. You know, what has happened on that front since he made the comment recently?
Thank you, Solomon. President's comment is welcoming, and we welcome it because this is really what we expected of the president, what we expected of the president. Because you see, initially they have issued a statement. Even though we had commended them for that swift reaction to the attack, we also said that it was still not enough. We were not impressed because one, if you give directives without any timelines and say that, okay, you have directed the Minister of Defense, Minister of Interior to investigate the matter and all that. We people beat journalists and the videos are out there, their images are out there, and we don't call for the arrest, we don't call for the interdiction. These are men in uniform who we can easily identify. Even with the Ghana Police Service, whether for publish or not, at least when the Abdulkamanov incident happened, a senior officer who slapped a journalist was immediately interdicted before investigation was said. Yeah, so this is what we're expecting. And there was no timeline. And in this country, anytime we all know that the perception, the perception of the people, or what we know is that as soon as an issue happens, there's so much pressure on government and all that. After a week or two, it dies out, and that is it. And
so what I'm asking is, have you heard from the presidency beyond the statement from the president? Have you been invited to any such meeting? Yes.
Yes, I'm building on that. So we said we went a step further, like I said, by engaging the president. And let me put on record that the president is the number 157 member of the Ghana Journalists Association. That is his number. He's a member in good standing, a proud member for that matter. And so I have the opportunity to engage him as the President of the Republic of Ghana and also as a member of the Ghana Journalists Association. And through that engagement, he gave me all these assurances and promises that he's going to do everything possible to end such impunity. And that was what you heard. The reaction was because of the engagement I've had with him the previous day before day. So we welcome it, and I mean, this is exactly what he told us. And he has fulfilled it. And for us, it's relieving. We are in expectant and in readiness to meet with the president, to meet with him in the coming week, and I know that it's going to be in the early next week.
Very well.
So that we can iron out some of these things, because this security is, especially the IGP. Look, we have written letters requesting some information and state of investigation on some report involving even the Yendi attack on you, your own reporter.
Yes.
So today they have not even heeded to it. Either have they responded to the letter. We send mail, we send messages, calls, he will not respond. We are saying that after 7 days, in as much as we wait on the president, we are going to take a decision. Or we have
for a blackout on the military and all of that. But others have said, yes, just briefly, others have said that the military may not even care about media covering their events. They don't care. They don't do a lot of events. So if you undertake a blackout on them, I mean, the effect is minimal. What's your quick response to that?
First of all, the focus, we all know the issue of the military, the military. And then I don't think that the focus is not even on the military. The focus is on our men and women in black, which is the police. They are to ensure the safety of journalists and every individual citizen in this country. They are law enforcers to ensure they are to protect lives and properties, which includes journalists. And so we are not focused on even with the military. Just recently, about 3 days ago, when the issue happened, when they issued a statement, they were pleading with the media. They added a note down there to editors, pleading that editors should consider the statement an issue for them. Are they not calling the media?
Very well.
Because how can they communicate the military? If the military do not need the media, how can they communicate on the reforms and whatever they are doing, even with regards to the investigation and the statement they issue? How does it get to the good people of this country? And so everybody needs the media. The media's mandate is to help to deepen democracy, to ensure good governance and accountability.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Nobody can do anything without the media. But what we are saying is that we are not only going to declare we are not going to blacklist, we are going to declare them as enemies of press freedom and democracy. An attack on the media, an attack on the press is an attack on our democracy.
Very well.
And so we are going to declare them as enemies of democracy and enemies of the media, of press freedom. So we again we have also made we made our general resolve. We made known our general resolve during our last presser. We have listed a number of steps we are going to take. Like officers, we all know that most of these officers' dream is to go on peacekeeping and all that. We are saying that we are going to write to UN, we are going to write to AU, we are going to write to ECOWAS and all that to ensure that some of these individual security officers or individual officers who
do not get to go for peacekeeping missions.
Of course.
Okay, great.
A number of things we are going to post. Look, we have details of these soldiers. We have their details, their names, everything, where they come from. We have their names. We are going to, in the next 7 days, after the 7 days, we don't get the response we are expecting. We are going to publish them in all dailies. going to declare them as enemies of press freedom and enemies of the media.
Very well.
We are going to do a number of steps.
Good. I mean, grateful for your time as always. This is my president. Thanks so much, Albert. We appreciate your time, and we'll be hoping that the appropriate responses will come so that they do not see the full extent of our wrath. Thank you so much, Albert.
And I can assure you, Salam, I can assure you, as you know me, we are not threatened. This is not an issue of threat.
Very well.
It's an issue we are taking. We are not allowing it to slide just like that. And before I wrap up, I can say that together with you and all other key stakeholders, let's help to sanitize the system and end this impunity. This is the time to end it once and for all.
Very well.
We can go about our duty without fear or fear. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Albert Jumfo is president of the Ghana Journalists Association. This is The Big Issue on 97.3 City FM. We are live on Channel One television. I have a number of guests I'm speaking to, and Nipako here is itching to make some points. But I'll give you the chance. But let me talk to. So this is the final round on this. Just quick one. Okay, so just make your point quickly.
Yes.
I'll take from.
Let me make a few suggestions to the GGA president.
Yes, so quickly.
Mr. GGA president, there is an outstanding issue with the CTFM Northern Regional Correspondent.
Yes, he mentioned that.
He mentioned that, and I think that you should take a good look at it. It involved the MPP candidate in the area. Then you have Mr. Caleb Kudwe's issue, which is still outstanding. You have the Joy FM journalist who is paralyzed as a result of the beatings and all these happened under the MPP. So you see, it was very rich when we are trying to have an apolitical discussion on an issue. And yes, government takes responsibility. That is why I said when the president spoke on the issue, that for me was final. The fact that he condemned it, the fact that he reiterated the fact that there is no space in his government where he's a card-bearing. And what is better? And I'm sure your president will agree. A card-bearing member, it's as if when we have the president who is also a lawyer, you have a card-bearing member of the Ghana Journalists Association as the president of the country. And he tells you that under his administration, there will be no space for such behavior. What you have to do is to simply follow up. You understand? And I'm happy that the call for collaboration and education is something that he reiterated because there's the need. You see, the point is sometimes the way you do your work may not be conversant to somebody. And
yeah, the point really is that so we saw the police one in Manoff.
Correct.
Immediately, the gentleman, we understand, was interdicted.
And then
some investigations happened.
Correct.
This one, we've not seen anything like that.
So the Ghana Armed Forces,
issued a statement said they will investigate.
No, they are investigating. So you know the Armed Forces will set up an investigation.
Yeah, but the interdiction is useful. It should happen.
So, but you need to identify the suspects.
No, but they are not.
Can you identify the person?
Because I don't know them.
So you need
but those who know them
you need to go through a system of identification. In the instance of the police one, they were able to identify him quickly. That's why they interdicted him immediately. So I expect, and as your president...
No, but see, the process of interdiction shouldn't be, identification shouldn't be long. Whoever deployed them knows who they deployed to that place.
No, but you know the military go through a process.
Yes, so but I'm saying that given the high level, the commander-in-chief has spoken about this.
Correct. So if it's
the high-level interest in this should make them quicken that process. And if they have done it, they should let us know because
I'm sure between yourself and Dr. Mani, it's not even a phone call away. Call him and ask him.
But the same way they issued a statement that they were investigating. Exactly. If there's been a significant development,
at least
they need to let us know.
At least give the government the benefit of the doubt that a statement has been issued, an investigation is ongoing. It's less than a week. If by next week we come back and there's nothing from the government, then you can say that we are not doing anything. But I think you prefer this kind of response to the response where the national security invades your premises and you don't hear anything from them. I think that is a marked difference between this government's response, where you have the president condemning the actions of these individuals, as opposed to national security invading your premises, picking up your journalist, taking that journalist to a national security facility, literally torturing that journalist coming back on air to come and protest and tell you his ordeal. Your management taking up the matter. Up to today, we've not heard anything. And it is very rich for the MPP spokesperson to be talking about press freedom when his own government and the national security. And I've run through the internet. I've been looking to see whether I'll see a word of condemnation when your journalists here, male and female, were picked up in this office and taken to a national security simply for filming. What do you call it? Abandoned, is it ambulances?
Abandoned vehicles.
Abandoned vehicles. What did we not see in this country?
But that's why we are making progress. That's why you say we are resetting.
So when you make progress, we don't expect people who have done worse to come and tell us that, oh, we are the worst, or this is the worst form of whatever it is that he's ever seen, and try to misquote and miseducate the public.
Very well.
I take great exception to that.
Great. Dr. Sekwapong, where do we go from here? A lot has been said. What should be the critical next steps we have to undertake to ensure that these attacks become things of the past? How can the military or the security and even everybody coexist amicably with each other and even the media?
Yeah, so as I said previously, for me, the holding of persons accountable for this attack in terms of the appropriate punishment for them will be one of the key ways. You want to deter such actions from happening again. And one of the things that help with deterrence is ensuring that punishment is swift, fair, but very immediate. I also look forward to seeing what the conversation between the president, the GJA, and other stakeholders would produce. Yes, there is also, I share the view that there is some element of public education that is also needed. It is not that officers of of law enforcement don't know that they shouldn't engage in certain behaviors, but we are all in professions where every so often we get a chance to attend a refresher course here and there to reinforce some of the ethics of the profession, some of the do's and don'ts of the profession. And I think it doesn't hurt that at some point you provide your law enforcement officials with these opportunities to, refresh them on, what the best practices of law enforcement are. Maybe sometime that may, hopefully they haven't forgotten what they learned, in training school. But again, every so often, serving them with friendly reminders of appropriate conduct, doesn't hurt. To ensure that these incidents don't occur anymore.
Very well. Richard, what should we be doing to ensure that this doesn't happen again, moving forward and looking forward to a more cordial relationship between the media and other stakeholders? Hello, Richard. Okay, so Richard is gone off. Justice, your final word on this. Is Richard back?
Yeah.
Okay, Richard, yes. So let me hear you.
Yeah, so, well, thank you very much. I think that, the progress of society is forward, not backward. And so when we're having these conversations, we're looking forward. The president's conversation is clear, but those are just conversations. We want action. I have said that these individuals, if the government wants to tell us, based on the president's, issuance of that letter and his subsequent commentary on the matter, we should have seen these individuals detained or interdicted as of now, and then punishment is brought so that we know that the president means what he's saying and just not mere rhetoric. We're interested in stemming this menace that afflict journalists and citizens. In fact, generally, since this government has come, the atmosphere of unrest, the fear, the impunity is become too much. And so this is not a business of comparing the MPP to the NDC. That's not what I sought to do. I sought to address the problem before us now. If yesterday the MPP was in government, today is the NDC that's in government. If anything is wrong, that's what we must talk about. The suggestion that, somehow something's happened in the past, so that we can't talk about what is happening today, for me is completely disingenuous. Look, if we want to do that comparison, Dick Papo should be very ready to have that conversation, because if we go back to the history of the NDC, we will tell him things that he doesn't want to hear. He doesn't want to hear. But that conversation we want to have. We want to have a conversation about a media state of silence that is being perpetrated. And Salom, my worry is that this is happening at a time that the media, as it were, is treating the government with kid gloves. Look, I have made a point that we are in this country where the Chief Justice, we're going to be talking about that very soon, a Chief Justice is being removed actively and the media is quiet. The media handling of this matter, it is mere reporting. Where is the media position on this matter? You can't see it. If this happened at a certain time.
What's the media position you want? What's the media position?
But Salom, that's not a conversation today, but I'm just reporting to you. You can do that assessment. You can do that assessment to see.
Great, because, I mean, yes.
The media is somewhat indifferent about it. They're merely just reporting, acting as a conveyor belt. But the media's position and opposition to this, I don't see it. But the point I am trying to make is that
the media position will be made known. This is not the subject on the table now, but the media position will be made known if there's an infraction. As far as we know, the processes are there. If the Chief Justice, for example, was prevented from accessing the court, in fact, she went to court this week. The court made a pronouncement. It could have gone her way. It didn't go her way. It's the same judiciary that she superintended over. So, of course, she may have issues. Those issues she took to the court. She called a press conference to ventilate her views. The media was there. It gave it, wide coverage. What else do you want? The media, what should the media be saying? But that's another matter for another day. So your conclusion is that... Yes.
So, quickly, one of the things the media can do, which is what you've just raised, do you see a pattern evolving that every application the Chief Justice makes to any court, it is turned down? It is dismissed. Do you see a pattern?
Richard, don't go there. It's the same judiciary. And it's the same judiciary. And the same thing you are complaining about now was what the NDC in opposition complained about. And it's the same judiciary. Unless, of course, you are telling me that when parties are in power, they do something to the judiciary and they get results from them. I don't know about that. But
I'm just saying, I'm not even talking about NDC or MPP. I'm just talking about the media. And I'm saying that the curiosity of the media in this matter has been absent, that you see a systematic dismissal of every case relative to the Chief Justice. No merit found in any case that she sent anywhere.
Richard, I'm a lawyer, right? I don't... Wait. Let me... So, for example, the matter is... There's a body created by the Constitution to look into the matter. That is active. The Chief Justice raises other sets of issues related to the same matter, goes to the court. The court says that, it's an abuse of the process. The court also says that it has no jurisdiction to look into the matter. What should the media say? All right, but I mean, we can look at that a bit.
Yeah, fine, that's fine. But I'm just saying that the media, should you make the point? It's not, you see, the point I'm trying to emphasize is that, have you made that point? Whether or not there's a system that is at play, how do you reform a dysfunctional system? You're saying that injustice is being done. Then we say, there's one system dealing with the problem, so let's allow it to carry on. The media must register that. That's how reform comes.
The media must say what? The media must say what? That the Chief Justice is not being treated fairly.
For example, I'm saying that. So the media ask questions about why is it that we have a Chief Justice who is afflicted, who is in a situation and need legal redress and some legal interpretation of certain conduct of the committee that is injurious to her and the process. You understand? The media
certain conducts like what? Certain conducts like what?
But everything that the Chief Justice raised, for example, her treatment compared to even the people who have alleged against them, their conduct, okay, the liberties they are accorded, the treatment of her that is denigrating of her and her status as a Chief Justice, and the accusers whose processes before the committee have been completely handled in a different way as ordinarily ought to be handled, and that she is treated as a common criminal. These are matters that we as a society have to raise. All the things that she raised in the press conference has completely been ignored by the media.
That's not true.
Matters, yeah, sorry?
I'm saying that that's not true. What can the media do about it? These are her allegations. We were not at the committee. We were not at the committee hearing, Richard. We were not at the committee hearing. These are allegations she has made.
Tell you what's happening at the committee.
Yes.
She's come to tell you what's happening at the committee.
But we were not there.
Do you agree? Of course you are not there, but she's come to tell you what is happening at the committee. In this instance, she's from the river, is telling you that something has happened under the river. You don't know, you haven't been there.
And she goes to court. She goes to court with it. She goes to court with it.
Exactly. And she goes to court, and you must see a pattern evolving. Anything she takes to court is knocked down. And so the media is not curious to even raise that matter because there is no conversation about it. The committee finds it okay to continue to do that. But if citizens, by nature of democracy, we say we are not happy with the treatment that is being given to a fellow citizen, then the government is forced to listen. The government must reform. Now the government is being put on its toes because the media is treating the government with kid gloves. And I'm saying that some of the point really that I'm making is that even now, that the media is lenient to the government. It's been attacked. What if the media decide to say, look, all bets are off, the gloves are off, and we're going to punch where it hits? If we get to that point, I'm telling you that more of these attacks will come.
Very well.
Will come. And so we must deal with it now at this nascent stage and ensure that the environment that is being created under this administration doesn't continue. That people are held accountable. There is some determination. There is some energy and drive and perhaps strategy to silence the media. That's the point I'm making. And I suggest that this whole conversation about, oh, we are investigating, I don't see what you are investigating. When camera, when picture, video has shown you what you need to investigate. You made a good point, Salam. Somebody deployed these officers. So if you deploy 10 people who have gone to a place and this matter has happened, what investigation do you need? And there's a video. Can't you just deal with the people? Beyond interdiction, what are the consequential matters that will arise? And so the point is that this is just not an occurrence. This is an occurrence, or this is not just an abuse. This is an abuse that is against the Constitution. So what do we need? And I'm calling on the GJA president. Okay, the point is clear. I think that he's on top of his job. The point is that the route of issuing a blackout on the security service, police or military is well reasoned, but it will not be enough. It will probably, on one hand, enable them, but I think that going forward, the GJA must support these journalists to take these matters to court because it's constitutional. They have that right. They have not abused any right under the Constitution. In any case, their rights have been abused. The GJA should force them to take these matters to court. In addition to the investigation that the security services are doing, first of all, these individuals who are police officers or military, they are citizens. And so if they go against any law of the land, must be punished. So while the security is doing their investigation, the GJA must support these individuals who might, with the legal support and funding, perhaps, to be able to go and sue these people. They should establish a legal fund or a legal fund for the GJA. We all will support and raise funds for that aspect of it to be carried out, so that the GJA will have the financial muscle to be able to prosecute people when these things happen, and that will be a way of stopping it. But this thing where we are saying President Obama has said something well-intentioned, however, but it's part of political rhetoric and it's not going to amount to anything.
Very well.
The only thing that changed this is the pressure that the media itself would realize that it's under attack and that this government would bring to bear, and all of us saying that never again would we tolerate something like this, especially when it is in direct breach of the Constitution. Those are the things that will change it.
Very well.
We must be clear in minds
Thanks,
that
Richard.
the president must lead and not just talk.
Very well. Great.
He must lead and not just talk about these matters.
Thank you. Justice, just a few, just one minute on this. Richard seems to suggest that the government is in a honeymoon period where everybody is happy with the government more or less, and this is happening. And he fears that if the media becomes very critical, which it will be as a matter of course, we will see these attacks more. You share in that view?
Absolutely not. This is why it was important to bring to fore the various calls within the past 10 years. And some of these periods, in fact, most of the periods that I referred to in the statistics that I gave earlier, were in 2015, 2016, 2014, in fact, in 2013. Now, these were periods that there were no honeymoon. There were no honeymoon periods. And these were the periods that President Mahama, for instance, scored so high. 2018 was not an honeymoon period when President Kufuor had the highest score in the history of Ghana, being first in Africa and indeed also one of the best in the world. These were not honeymoon periods. This was 2 years after President Kufuor was in office. And indeed, 2022, when President Kufuor scored the worst in the history of the Republic, both internationally and locally in Africa, it wasn't an election period, neither was it an honeymoon period, because it was 2 years, in fact, 2 years post the last elections. And so that argument, I do not think that it works if you judge it by the statistics that are on the ground. It doesn't support that view Richard expresses.
Very well.
Now, having said that, my call, to stem this tide would be to have a dedicated court, to establish a dedicated court to deal with infractions of journalists. And so I probably would call it a media court in every region. We should have one media court in every region dedicated to deal purely and solely with infractions of the media, whether in the form of a civil action or in the form of a criminal action. I believe it will serve a very useful purpose and then go against, and work towards resolving this matter. In fact, I believe that would be the best way of resolving this whole issue. And of course, if you could have dedicated prosecutors, so that, because I'm listening to the GJ president, what I noticed was that it appears that deliberately, because these media, perpetrators are members of the security agencies, in designing the charges to be preferred against the person, they go for the least charges possible, so that automatically you might think that if you're uneducated, if you're unlettered, you may think that the court is rather the one treating the perpetrators with kids' gloves, when in fact it is the charges that produces that. Because if you inflict the least charges, automatically you would expect that even if the person is convicted, the punishment thereof would be very minimal. And so we may have to have the situation of having either independent prosecutors or dedicated prosecutors, or the two combined, to dealing with these infractions in the criminal aspect. For the civil action, as I've said, luckily for us, a lot of journalists, including you, Salom, are lawyers. And indeed, I believe that even other private practitioners would be willing to offer pro bono cases in a civil action to recover what is due and fair for journalists who are attacked in the line of their duties. And I'm sure that if we were to go deeper into this, we may probably even have lawyer-journalist associations, whether within the journalist, the media space, or other lawyers who may be willing to lend their support to these matters. And this group of people would be willing and be ready to offer their support in the civil actions for and on behalf of media houses and media men that are attacked.
Very well.
Salom, I would like to remind us, I think I remember my brother Nipaku mentioned it, that your